children at an enormous migrant shelter in Texas. Some of these kids as young as 10 years old. They're able to walk out of that shelter without being stopped. It happened this weekend here in Brownsville, Texas. A boy 15 years old, we're told. He is alive and well, but now back in Mexico. For many hours, his location and condition were not known. He slipped through the cracks. We got this statement from the shelter called Casa Padre. As a licensed child care center, if a child attempts to leave any of our facilities, we cannot restrain them. We are not a detention center. We talk to them and try to get them to stay. And if they leave the property, we call law enforcement. A 15-year-old boy left the Casa Padre Child Care Center in Brownsville today. We called local law enforcement and continue to work with them. CNN's Polo Sandoval is in South Texas. Polo, tell us what we know about this boy, and how surprising is it to learn that this shelter, this children's center, is not allowed to prevent kids from just walking out?
It certainly is surprising, Anna. Of course, you've covered much of what we know at this point, that this 15-year-old child walked off this location in Brownsville, Texas, about 50 miles east of where we are at this Border Patrol location in McAllen, Texas. What we know is this 15-year-old walked off that premises, and as you heard from that statement from the owner and operator of this child care facility, they are not authorized by the state of Texas to hold children against their will. They cannot even put their hands on them. The only thing that they can do, according to some of the sources we've been speaking to, familiar with, at least with knowledge of the situation, is walk with these children to the property line, ask them that they remain on the premises, but once they make it past that line, then law enforcement has to get called in. I spoke to a member of the Brownsville Police Department who told me that that's exactly what happened. At about 4:30 yesterday afternoon, they received a phone call calling officers to that Southwest Key location in Brownsville, Texas, to reports of a missing 15-year-old boy. We now know that that is a 15-year-old child from Honduras who was at that location that is now, as you just said, in Mexico. And we do understand, based on information from sources close to this investigation and knowledgeable, with knowledge of what happened there, that this child now is in contact with relatives and in the process of returning back to his native Honduras.